Well, hello there, and welcome to another tank review. I'm Corny Swiss, and today I'm looking at the Leopard 1, a rank 5, 7.7 battle rating medium tank for Germany. Now, as with all reviews, before we get started, the various parts of this review are timestamped down below, so feel free to click on those to go watch whichever part of this review you want to watch. But if you want to hear the garage portion of this review, let's get started. So it actually took me a while to figure out which Leopard 1 this is. There were a lot of variants of the Leopard 1, various upgrades, modifications, what have you. I determined that this is one of the prototypes, one of the first batch of Leopards that were produced and shipped, basically. So it is actually just a base Leopard 1. Then you have like the Leopard A1, which comes after that, and a whole host of upgrades to this tank. And this tank saw a lot of service. It saw service in a lot of different NATO countries, and this was the first German tank design project, sort of as West Germany. This is a Cold War era tank. The newly formed German army was given M48s, basically American tanks that were slowly being outdated. So there was a need to develop their own main battle tank. And the German philosophy while they were building this tank was everyone's firing heat warheads anyway. That renders heavy armor ineffective, at least to the point where we can't pile enough armor on here to make this thing withstand that shell rather. So the solution was, we're just not going to put any armor on it. We're going to give it a tremendous gun. This is a German modification of the British 105mm gun. And we're not going to put any armor. We're going to make it fast. We're going to give it a great gun and just bring the knockout punch on the first shell. Basically, we're going to make a very, very potent maneuverable tank. And that's pretty much what they did. This tank was produced in 1965 and I believe it's seen service all the way into the 1990s in various forms and shapes. I couldn't really find a definitive "we don't use this tank anymore" date. I know the Leopard 2's out there now, but this is a true main battle tank, in the sense of the word that we have today. It's all about this gun. So, let's look at the statistics of this tank. Like I said, it's a rank 5 at 7.7 battle rating. I see that going up very quickly. This will be an 8.0 battle rating tank. It has every right to be, and it certainly will be, just a matter of when. I am of the opinion that I think that there are a few tanks in the game that need to get their own battle rating, like 9.0, 10.0, those need to be added into the game. I feel that the Leopard 1 might be one of those tanks that ends up at a higher battle rating, like 9.0, just mainly because of the punch the gun delivers, but also just the package it has, its speed. At 8.0 now, a 7.7, 8.0, just about everything can penetrate everything. So armor really is becoming irrelevant. It's basically just rate of fire and the type of shells you're slinging are what matters. And we'll talk about the shell and the rate of fire in a minute. So mass, 40-ton tank. Relatively light, but it has a huge engine, 830 horsepower, 2,200 RPM. Power to weight ratio over 20, which means this tank can shift. It has really good acceleration. Top speed of 65 kilometers an hour. I've gotten to that speed, but that's because I was going downhill. Usually this tank averages about 38 to 40, maybe low 40s on relatively flat ground. So that's the kind of speed you can expect on a normal map conditions, is upper 30s, low 40s in terms of speed. Maximum inclination, 24 degrees. Because it's light, it's not going to go up slopes as well as some of the heavier tanks with good engine power. So, that's a little bit of a bummer, but a lot of times you can build up enough speed where you can just kind of jump them. 24 degree per second turret rotation, that's really good. It means that when you get in a knife fight range, this tank is going to have its gun on the target always. The turret traverse on this tank is really, really nice because there aren't many tanks at this tier that can actually keep their turrets moving. It's actually very easy to circle IS-4, IS-3 and things like that in this tank, because you have that acceleration in forward and reverse. This tank actually reverses very well too, and you can keep this gun always on target, so it's really, really nice. Vertical guidance, 9 degrees of gun depression, 20 degrees of gun elevation. Now the elevation on this gun really doesn't matter, and that's mainly because of the 3 shells you can fire from this gun, 2 of them are essentially laser pointers. The other one, not so much, but in my opinion it's the least useful of the 3 shells. So elevation, not really a big deal because you don't have to raise the gun very much to hit your target. I guess it only matters when you're trying to shoot down airplanes or maybe someone's on a hill above you or something like that, but overall 20 degrees is plenty. 9 degrees of gun depression, that's pretty good. You know, there are tanks in the game with 10, but 9 degrees of gun depression on a medium at rank 7.7, 8.0, very good. This is really, really nice to have. It allows you to pull off some pretty cool maneuvers where you can kind of poke ridge lines, take a shot, and back up really fast, and kind of peek-a-bang your way through the enemy team. It's really, really nice. Now, the armor. I already alluded to the fact that there's none. Well, it's not that there's no armor. It's like just enough armor to protect you from like a 50 caliber machine gun in the front, right? Front of the hull 70 millimeters, lower part of the hull 50 millimeters. Oh, you're going to penetrate every single time you shoot at the front of this tank. Has a gun mantlet. Gun mantlet's 100 millimeters. You got a 120 millimeter section down there on the lower part. Yeah, that's cool and all. 120 millimeters is still pretty thin. 100 millimeters here. You have this random strip that's 120, and then you got 70 on top. Base of the gun 150. So the entire front part of this tank is basically everything it sees will penetrate. You have to be concerned about some HE shells at this point. HE to the front isn't always effective, but I have been hit with HE to the front, and it has been a problem for me sometimes. So the armor as a whole just isn't very good. You know, it's meant to keep the rain off the crew, keep the ammunition from falling out of the tank, and to keep mud off all the components, and if someone runs up and starts shooting it with a 50 cal, hopefully none of it penetrates. So I'm not going to spend a huge amount of time on the armor. Side of the turret 60, side of the hull 35. You have to be a little worried when there's 50 cal shooting at you here, but usually you'll be okay. Flak trucks are going to love this thing. All the AAA can basically penetrate this thing just about everywhere. Rear of the tank 35, rear of the turret 50. So it has no armor, but it makes up for that. It makes up for it in pure looks and a deadly gun. So let's look at that gun, shall we? So, you start off with this armor-piercing discarding sabot shell, DM13. 5.8 kilogram shell at 1478 meters per second muzzle velocity. So this thing is actually a laser pointer. When you look at the spread of in your gun sight, it takes up so little space that the difference between firing at 10 meters and 1,000 meters is like less than it's a really small difference. Hitting targets at range is super easy with this shell. One, because it travels so fast, but also because it travels so fast. That's actually the reason. You have this HESH shell, high explosive squash head shell. The thing about the HESH shells is, well, let's go through the statistics first. It's a 15 kilogram shell, so it's much heavier. 730 meter per second muzzle velocity, excuse me. Penetration 145 millimeters. Now, the thing about the HESH shell is, in essence, what it does is it hits a tank and explodes, and its goal is to cause spalling damage, where pieces of armor on the inside of the tank kind of break off and shrapnel the crew and things like that. But from what I've been able to see, it's only effective against armor that's less than 145 millimeters. Well, the front of most tanks at this tier is greater than 145 millimeters in some degree. So I generally don't use this shell, and part of the reason I don't is this shell, high explosive anti-tank fin stabilized shell. And in my opinion, this shell just, to me, does more at the moment. It's 11 kilogram shell, so it's similarly weighted, It's a similarly large shell. 1173 meters per second muzzle velocity, it gets over the fact that the Hesh travels so slowly that it can actually be difficult to hit targets when you're used to firing, the DM13 round or whatever. So the change between them is heavy. And it has 400 millimeters penetration at all ranges. This thing will penetrate every target you hit, except for very rare circumstances where it won't. Usually you nick the side of the tank or something like that, and no shell on Earth was going to penetrate. But the point is that this shell is really easy to get on target, and almost always, basically always penetrates. So if you land it in the area of an ammo rack, that tank's toast. If you land it in a good trajectory with the crew compartment, they're toast. There's a lot of situations where this shell just dominates opposition. So that's why I kind of discount the Hesh shell, especially at these high tiers. It's a useful shell, but to me the heat shell on average does more because it can penetrate much thicker armor, which you need against things like IS-4, IS-3. Just name a few, and you'll have examples. Now, I didn't talk about the penetration of the DM13. At 10 meters, you have 289 millimeters penetration. At 500, you have 282. 1500, you have 245, and 2000 meters, you have 240. So this shell is actually, it's not a bad shell. It's a pretty good shell. So this is a very good shell to start off with and use before you can unlock this heat shell. And even though the heat shell is much pricier, 1100 credits, it's still very easily the best shell on this tank. And this is what I fire almost exclusively because there's not really a situation where I haven't found this thing to be useful. The situation I have found it to be not very useful is when there's obstacles in the way of me and my target. Heat shells will explode on impact with things like fence posts and things like that. Well, the Sabo round doesn't do that. It'll go through and then still maintain some penetration power on the target. The Hesh shell will explode as well. So, that's the disadvantage of this shell, is that thing like a fence post in the way is going to set off the shell before it gets to the target. This doesn't have that problem. So that's why I carry some of the DM13, because in situations where there's lots of obstructions, I'll switch to it, or have my second shell be this, so that I can rely on my next shell penetrating, basically. But when I can, which is most of the time, I use the DM12 shot. Alright, so that's the ammunition choices. I really love the heat. I know some people have said the Hesh is really, really good. I haven't seen it, and I think it's really, really good against targets with less than 145 millimeters of armor where you're shooting them. So if you got the side of, most American tanks, it would be good. But the issue is that Hesh doesn't deal with tracks very well. Heat shell, sometimes you can get away with it. Matter of fact, more often than not, you get away with it. Hesh shell does not do well against tracks. So something else to keep in mind. So the heat shell is the go-to for me. It's a really, really powerful shell. It's the same idea on the M60 and the T10. They're going to rely on their heat shells, I think, because it's just a really, really good shell. And it basically guarantees the penetration. So there's that. Now, reload rate of the gun. I have a pretty good crew on this spot, and I got it down to 8.3 seconds. This thing has a lightning quick reload for this tier, and it's a 105mm gun with 60 rounds of ammunition. You also have a 30 caliber machine gun to clear away pesky trees and things like that. So the rate of fire is tremendous, which is part of the reason why I think this tank truly does as well as it does, is primarily because this tank can just keep the shells flying. And when you're circling an enemy tank and when you're trying to disable somebody, it's much easier to do it when you can keep firing, and every shot you fire is basically penetrating as long as you hit the target. So rate of fire is tremendous, and that's part of what makes this tank really, really powerful. But I'll save more discussion about that for the final opinion. Let's look at the X-ray, because if it has no armor, how do you defend? You don't. If you get hit in the front part of the tank, you are likely to blow up. simply because there's a stack of ammunition sitting right next to the driver. In the turret, you have the loader, the commander, and the gunner. So I guess if you want to disable the gun, basically shoot for this half of the tank because there's 3 crew, or shoot for this part of the tank because there's 1 billion rounds of ammunition. You really can't go wrong. Side of the tank too, back side of the turret. There's ammo all over in here. Just ammo, crew. Depends what you want to destroy. I usually go for ammo. Basically, the back half of the tank, like you'd expect, is all engine, fuel tanks, radiator, transmission, all kinds of stuff. The transmission being in the back is kind of important because it means that there's literally no protection for this ammo or this driver. So this driver has a rough deal in life. But then again, all these guys do, because if they take a hit, they're all toast anyway. So that's all you need to know about the X-ray of this tank. Big stack of ammunition right here in the gunner, right next to the gunner. So makes his life awkward. So yeah, that's basically the Leopard 1 in a nutshell. It's as an overview, I guess, it's very quick, very little armor, which allows it to be so fast, and the gun is literally, I talk about a lot of different guns as being this is the best gun in the game. I think hands down, this 105mm gun is the premier gun in the game. No other gun can boast the punch that this thing brings, the penetration value, the overall effectiveness of the shells it fires, and the rate of fire, all in one package. So this 105mm gun is, to me, by far the best gun in the game. And it's going to be similar for the M60. M60 essentially has the same gun. So the M60 and the Leopard 1 have the best guns in the game, as far as I'm concerned. And I don't really find a way to debate that. It just has everything, And I've said in the past that if you have a good gun, you can make any tank work, especially if it's fast. And this tank is fast, and it has a good gun. So you can do the math. But anyway, let's get on into the replay, shall we? So here we are in a realistic battle on Corellia. Now, normally this tank will do really well on more open, longer range maps because of the gun and its speed. But it can do well enough in the close range maps. It's just maybe a little less room for error. At the beginning of this game, I blitzed out of the team, out of the spawn point, and I'm basically going to come over here and sit and try and peg some tanks who maybe aren't expecting me to be here already. And there's one. First shell goes in. Now he has a friend behind him, so I'm trying to maybe not get hit and actually take a hit, but I think I got really lucky there and somehow got a bounce off my gun mallet, or maybe the side of the turret, the very side of the turret. But they know I'm here. I don't want to go back out. The Leopard 1, you really don't, and something, I'm going to take a brief side trip here. The fact that you can ping the map is glorious. It's one of the most useful features in online multiplayer gaming, and they finally put it in War Thunder. Hooray. It's fantastic. I actually really, really like it. So I'm coming up over here, and basically I'm going to use the low profile of this machine to kind of duck into this little ditch. And basically I'm going to wait for those guys to advance down the path here. I don't want to go out and push down this little road here because I know they're waiting for me. And if they get the first shot into me, I'm not likely to get my own return shot. So I'm kind of trying to wait here. But I'm also getting impatient because I know that the Tiger 2, or the King Tiger, is pushing forward. And I really need to support him as well, because they could just turn around and go the other way and come around this way and have at that King Tiger. But I'm pretty sure I would rather wait around here. And oh, there's one. That's the guy I hit first, I think. Oh, no, it wasn't. It was a T-54. I'm sorry. Well, T-54 right into the ammo rack, sets him off, and he's no more. That's the power of this tank. I was able to adjust my position so quickly, make decisions. See, I'm spinning the tank around. I'm going to move up over here, trying to get shots across over here to find, because there's some tank that's causing problems over here. And I'm basically trying to be, the flex force here. I'm trying to move around and kind of be very liquid in my position. because I really need to just support everybody. You know, if I can bring my gun to bear on as many people as possible, I'm going to do pretty well. The King Tiger kept moving forward, but I'm not comfortable moving forward. And I'm really worried about this flank over here. So I'm actually going to go back to this position and start waiting for that those two tanks to come. Oh, there's one. He hasn't seen me. First shot goes in. Don't really cause any critical damage, and I wait around, which was a bad decision. Just always get back out of dodge. So I back up. I didn't take really any hugely critical damage. My gun's loaded, and basically we're in a little bit of a standoff here. There's the other guy, so both of them are down here. I drop Artie on our position, and the other Leopard actually just bounced and went back around to flank, and I decided, you know what, that's a pretty good idea. So we're going to put the speed and maneuverability of this thing, even though I'm damaged now, to get around over here and shoot them in the flank as they push up over the, as they try and basically catch us. Poking around, and it looks like the Tiger 2's actually turned and come down this street, or this road too. That guy for some reason was going backwards. He gets out fire, and that other guy, where is he though? He must be somewhere. Oh, guess what he did? He's actually, there he is, hello. Shell goes in, knocks him out. This tank is extraordinarily flexible. I don't think any other tank in the game could have pulled that little engagement there off. It has so much grunt in the engine, the rate of fire is so good that you can pull off moves like that. And right there I was providing a little bit of overwatch, making sure our guys get off this road fine. But now's kind of an interesting portion of the battle. We're in their cap, but we're not going to stay that way. There you go. And there's too many players alive on both teams to really make a push for the cap. So instead, I'm going to try and be supportive, I guess, and come roaring over here, looking for enemy tanks to shoot. There's not a lot to be seen, which is not good because I know they're here. And we really need to find these guys that are digging our boys out of the cap circle and have a go at them. Oh, something looked like someone was behind that rock, and I decided to just back out of here. It's not a good place to be. I don't want to be in a position to take hits. I want it to be a lot like the engagement previously, where I was able to kind of shoot guys in the side as they were coming through. That's an enemy tank, I believe, but I didn't bother to aim the shot because I want to just get it out. I'm going to duck in over here, and there's a little bit of a funny sequence right here. I don't know. Might turn it into its own video, but it's a little bit of an amusing thing. Okay, right here I should have immediately stopped and waited for him to come around. But we both fire. I take some severe damage, and he is coming around that corner. Trying to back up out of here. No, don't shoot me. Oh, he shot me alright. That's a little bit of an issue. He's damaged my engine and stuff. But he's also taken some hits from our boys over there. And somehow, I think what happened there is he's firing maybe APCR, and it hit my horizontal drive and didn't do any other damage. So I got really lucky there. But we're both heavily damaged. And I thought about trying to repair, but then he dropped Artie on me, and I'm like, okay, well, we need to get out of here. And we both just very politely leave. He just backs up around this rock. I keep going. And I'm not going to get out of this scot-free, though. You can see I've lost some crew members. But as I'm coming around this corner, I'm actually going to take a hit. And it's going to cause me some serious problems with my engine. Sets me on fire. Basically assures that his second shot is going to hit me. But we have a rock star on this team. He's in a Panther 2 at the moment. His name is Panther AI, and he comes in here and basically single-handedly saves me and really kind of carries us for a portion of this game. I think he ends up with 13 kills, which is a pretty good result. That's pretty good. But I managed to pull forward enough to get behind cover and start repairing. And I'm going to need to repair. I need my engine back so I can turn and engage targets. But it is going to seriously hamper my ability to fight efficiently because I'm not going to have my engine power, which is half of this tank, is the speed. You know, I don't have armor, so I need speed. And when my engine's broken, I don't have any speed. So, slowly fixing the tank. The Panther II is going to move forward and start killing some tanks, which is very, very nice. But right here, I'm actually in not a bad position. I'm going to turn my gun to the rear because I think that's where the enemy are going to come from generally. But it's anyone's guess, really. And this game is far from over. But looking at the team list, I kind of felt that we were on the downside because we're losing tanks and the enemy are... It looks like they had lost overall less players. And they're sitting in our zone, which is never good. But the tank's repaired somewhat. The engine's not doing so well. The transmission's not doing so well. But at least I can move. I can fire the gun. I can do all kinds of good stuff like that. So, it's time to kind of adjust to the battle and figure out where things are happening. Looks like there's a T-32 who's behind that tree in the upper left-hand corner. And I've now spotted him. Or at least I know where he is, because I think people were pinging. Oh, there he is. I had to get up over here to take the shot. Got a solid hit there. Would have been better to put it into the floor of his tank to try and get the ammo rack. But my rate of fire is reduced here, so a little awkward for me to try and finish him off. But he goes ahead and... No, that was actually someone else that just got knocked out. Someone else I had tagged. Or else it was this guy. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what just happened there. But I shoot him and he's dead. So regardless, someone died and it wasn't me. Just making sure. Now, I need to move forward and help my team because we have that Panther II who's moved up. We have all kinds of tanks. We have tanks in our spawn, but we also have a couple tanks out here who really need backup. And they're starting to call for help and things like that. And oh, we just lost him. That's a little unfortunate. And guess what's going to come around that corner? Yep. But first shell goes in, causes him some serious issues. He starts backing up. My rate of fire is severely reduced, but he's in no position to engage me. And he's starting to take all kinds of AAA fire into the side, which is dangerous for him. So I'm going to put the remaining speed I have to use, make it so he has to choose one of us. I shoot that target because I wasn't sure if he was alive or not. And this guy isn't going to be shooting me anytime soon because his horizontal drive's out. So now I'm just going to wait for the reload and then put a shell into it. But this tank doesn't really suffer as much from having its rate of fire diminished because it's a 105mm gun. And when you reduce the rate of fire with like the loader being dead and stuff, it basically becomes the T-54's rate of fire. Almost. I think it's probably a little slower, but the point still stands is that the rate of fire is so fast that losing your loader just puts you on par with other tanks, you know. And I wasn't sure what this guy was shooting at. He's shooting all kinds of stuff. But both the tanks there are dead, bud. I'm just confirming, yep, he's dead. I remember I put a shot into him. And now we're in a very awkward situation because we're recapping our zone, which is nice. We really can't push into their zone. We just don't have the forces, and the enemies still have too much. But I'm going to come up over here and maybe try and get some sneaky flank shots into tanks coming out of their spawn. Haven't seen any so far. Oh, there's one. Some type of T-34 moving through the... moving over towards it. Tried to get a hit on him, but missed regrettably. So, but I know where he's going. And I actually start pinging it on the map so my teammates are aware, because I knew it was a T-34 of some name. Didn't know which one. Right? And there's the T-34-100, for example, is a really dangerous T-34. Could be in this game, because we're starting to get to our later tanks in our little lineups, so... Wasn't sure what T-34 was. Turns out it's a T-34-57, so not a big deal. But I'm going to come up over here, because I'm basically assuming that he's going to rush his way down the side of this map and try and flank our whole team. Well, the awkward part is, I'm aware of your plan. I see you. And he actually spotted me here, I believe. Because he's actually going to put a shot into me right here. But it looks like there was no damage caused. I come down, I put a shot through the front of his tank, causes him some critical damage. And even though my tank is severely damaged, I'm going to put my 105mm gun right up against the back of his tank. He starts rotating his turret, but I am able to keep backing up, keep changing direction, and not allow him to really bring that gun to bear on me. The real limiting factor here was my rate of fire. If I had my full rate of fire, I could have just sat in front of him, not even bothered with trying to get around his side. I could have just sat in front of him and shot him again, and he would have died. So that's nice. But I know I'm looking at where there he goes. He respawned. So I want to get out of here because now he knows where I am. And when the enemy knows where you are and you're severely damaged, they can cause you some serious problems. He might jump in a plane and bomb me. He might jump in a tank and just shoot me. All kinds of bad things can happen. So I need to get out of Dodge. And I actually ping the flag I think he's going to spawn at so my teammates know. Binding, you have to use the map ping. You have to go into your control settings under, I think, miscellaneous. And I set mine to Alt. So I hold Alt, it gives me my cursor, and I can ping the map. So I think that's a Walker Bulldog. And I'm trying to get a shot on him, but the tank is actually just too low profile. And I just can't put the shot on him. So, I need to move forward. Now, I'm going to make a mistake here. You'll know when it happens. Right, so I come up over here, and this isn't a mistake. I shoot the Walker Bulldog in center of mass, caused some serious problems, hit an ammo rack, didn't set it off, so he survives. This is the mistake. I'm moving forward, out of cover. I know someone spawned at their spawn. It's entirely likely he's sitting in some type of tank destroyer waiting to just pounce on me as soon as I move across the open. That's exactly what happened. Now he gets knocked out almost immediately afterwards, and I have plenty of tanks to spawn, and I would continue on with this battle and go on to score one more kill and have a pretty nice little result. But the majority of the work was done in the Leopard 1, and that kind of shows you the flexibility of this tank even on smaller maps. So, let's move on to another replay, shall we? So here we are on in a realistic battle on the Berlin map. This is another one of these maps that's a little bit closer than what the Leopard likes, but I mean, the reason I'm not including like a sort of a longer range map gameplay is because I think the playstyle on those maps is obvious. And that's not what people are going to struggle with, right? I think it's going to be these maps where some of the Leopard strengths can be put to use, but you have to be a little bit sneaky about it. So, the Berlin map, especially the western portion, has a lot of these like weird alleyways and stuff. All kinds of little things you can use your hull traverse and things like that and acceleration to really cause some issues for the enemy. Now my plan here was, it turned a little bit too much. My plan here was I'm going to get on the flank and I'm going to work my way west to east and just push the enemy out and then go to their cap circle. Because a lot of what I feel like the key on this map is securing flanks, because the middle of the map is relatively open. There's all kinds of ground over here that isn't really. And this is where you're going to kind of... My first shot goes in the T-54. It wasn't aimed tremendously well. I should have just gone straight for the turret. But he's going to be in some serious trouble because it's myself and another Leopard here, and we're just pounding him. I see his gun turning. I just immediately back up. And there's really nothing he can do here. Our rate of fire is just far superior. So I think he wrecked, or he tried to fire the gun and it broke. Whatever happened, he's dead. And I got the kill. So, Alright, but he's not likely to be the only one over here. We're going to have to, especially, I mean, the enemy just stopped capturing the zone. No one died. Someone's over there. So we need to be trying to help out there. Someone just blew up there. Another T-54. I'm worried about crossing the street. Oh, hello. Hello, Mr. IS-4. Please stop what you're doing. Go in, got the gunner. I initially thought about backing up. Then I'm like, wait, he's going to back up and go over there. Entirely possible he needs to repair. Or at least, maybe I can sneak around over here. So I come sneaking around. He just detonated someone, I think. My first shell goes in, hits his engine. He's not going to be moving. And oh, he's swinging the turret around, but I'm going to get my next shot off long before he does. And we punch his ticket right there. Now the enemy have, it looks like, capped the zone, or at least gotten close. I can't quite see because my eyes are not the best. But I'm going to move into the zone, and we're going to start capturing it. Basically, we're now going to claim possession of the cap, and hopefully never ever give it up. And I've chosen this position, but I really don't like sitting in cap circles, because it's just too easy to bomb. And especially when I'm in a tank like this, you know, if a bomb lands anywhere near me, it's going to be a problem. And we're under artillery fire, so I'm getting out of here. I don't really care. Oh, excuse me, Mr. Leopard. Please back up. We need to get out of the cap circle now. There's artillery coming in. We don't like that. Alright, see you later. Knock over the 88 while I'm moving. Okay, so that's cool and all. Now, this is an interesting part of the battle because we've established control on the cap, and the enemy are trying to retake some narrow streets from us. And oh, that Leopard 1 just got detonated. So I know there's an IS-3 somewhere around here, and I'm very nervous about that. So initially I'm going to sit in this position because I have good cover, and I have a clearly defined route for the enemy to come at me in. But the remainder of the team is actually going to start moving forward, which is going to prompt me to do so as well. Because two Leopards moving together is really, really potent, because you only can take out one, and it's likely that two shots are going to be fired from the Leopards. Either your first shot kills one of them, and the other one gets his two shots because he's just going to beat your reload, or one gets off a shot. There's all kinds of situations. Basically, two Leopards together are going to cause tremendous problems. And oop, that's an IS-3. I would love to get a shot into him. First shot goes in, does a little bit of damage. Nothing super serious. Next shot goes in, and he definitely knows I'm here now. I'm just going to very casually back up with him. Basically right here I was trying to disable him so that he can't go anywhere, and that's exactly what that shot does. Starting to spin the turret, not a big deal. Go right up behind him and put a shell into the back of his turret. Causes him some serious issues, and his tank explodes. So basically what I wanted people to get out of this replay is that the Leopard 1 is extraordinarily flexible. This tank can fill a lot of roles. It's a very effective knife fighter while also being a very effective long-range defensive or offensive tank, because it has the ability to flex and shift and get place to place so quickly, and also bring firepower to bear. You know, 105mm gun. Hello, Mr. IS-4. Please stop shooting my team. It would have been better if that had just knocked him out, but boom, he got ripped by, guess what? What did rip him? I can't see. Looks like a Leopard 1. Yeah, but as I was saying, the Leopard 1, it's extremely potent. It's the first 8.0 tank you should get for the Germans. The mouse will be a consequence of people playing the King Tiger so much, but the Leo 1 is really the best tank. I hesitate to say it's the best 8.0. Well, okay, it's 7.7, because for all intents and purposes, it is 8.0. So, I hesitate to say it's the best 8.0 tank in the game. And the reason I hesitate, because there's a few of them, and they each have something they do, but in kind of the new, it seems to be the new way Gaijin has approached the very high tiers of tanks, is everybody can penetrate everybody, and everybody has pretty good guns, and rate of fire is decent, so armor becomes really irrelevant. When everyone can penetrate everyone, having less armor is desirable, primarily because you aren't going to get exploded as much because you're fast. You know, when you're fast, you can avoid situations that otherwise you'd be put in. Like, for example, I was able to circle 2 different tanks, basically never give them a chance to fire. And who put those tank traps there? It wasn't me. So regrettably, I'm going to be stuck for the rest of this game, but it gives me an opportunity to talk a little, which is always nice, I guess. So I hesitate to say this is the best tank in the game, but if you asked me which tank I would take into a match, an 8.0 battle rating match, I would take the Leopard 1. Almost universally, in just about every situation. The mouse, maybe. The thing is that the Russian tanks are really meta match in the Leo 1. It's a really, really good tank. It has a good caliber gun, it has great rate of fire, it has good ammunition, it's fast. Like, what can you complain about? So, that's kind of like what I kind of want you to take away from that replay and kind of the replay before, is that this tank is incredibly flexible. It can pull off multiple different roles. It fits well into the previous German sort of metagame style, which was kind of sniping out targets, playing more defensively. But it also has the ability to just go and just get after the enemy, get on the flanks, secure them, and push in and drive the nail home. So let's move on to the final opinion, shall we? Alright, so opinion time. What do I think of the Leopard 1? I think it should become clear that this is, in my opinion, one of the strongest tanks in the game. It will certainly be an 8.0 battle rating tank. I think eventually when 9.0 or 10.0 is implemented, which at some point it kind of has to be, you know, obviously there's no clue as to when that'll happen or if Gaijin even plan on it, but to me this tank belongs above 8.0. It's tremendous. It's a really, really good machine. The lack of armor doesn't bother me at all in this tank, because the speed is good enough, the acceleration, the grunt in the engine is good enough, and it has such a tremendous gun. You know, this gun just makes everything work. You know, if this tank had a really, really bad gun, then it wouldn't be that good. You know, but it's fast and it has a tremendous gun, and it can actually defend the flanks against T-54 and things like that. For the longest time, the issue the Germans had was they didn't really have an answer at 8.0 battle rating to T-54s on the flank. Like, what are you going to do? Is a mouse going to roll over there? You know, or a Tiger II with the 105mm, that big 105mm gun? No, they can't roll over there. They would get butchered, because the Tiger II, well, the King Tiger really doesn't have enough armor to do it, right? The mouse has plenty of armor to do it. The issue is it just gets overrun really fast because of that long reload and things like that. And it's also so slow. So German teams basically relied on American tanks like the M47 to hold the flanks, and they did pretty well. The issue is that you can kind of get overwhelmed when, what if there aren't that many American tanks on your team, or what if they go in the middle too? All kinds of things can happen. Well, now a German-only team at 8.0 battle rating is not a bad thing. It used to be devastating. It used to mean you'd basically lose. Nowadays, it means you have it really doesn't matter, I guess. I've won a lot of games when I've been playing at 8.0 battle rating, mostly because this tank just has changed the dynamics so much, right? T-54s do not. The T-54 in this tank have. I prefer the Leopard 1 over the T-54, and the reason is that the T-54, its thing was always that it had pretty good armor on the chassis, and it had a potent gun. It was quick, right? Well, this tank is quick. It doesn't have the same amount of armor, but it has a gun that fires faster, is of higher caliber, and has better ammunition than the T-54. So, what does the T-54 have a leg up on? T-54's armor has been basically relegated to it's useless now, because it can't defend itself against the Leopard 1's gun. And the Leopard 1 wasn't designed to have armor to defend against a T-54. That's not the idea. So basically, you took away something that made the T-54 unique, which was the armor, and put it against opposition with a faster rate of fire and a better overall gun. So, who do you think wins that engagement if both tanks can can very easily kill each other, and one tank has the by far better gun? Yeah, the Leopard 1 will win that engagement. It also has just so much grunt in the engine, it can move around and shift really easily. So, I guess to wrap up, this is a fantastic tank. In terms of German tanks, this is the tank you want to grind to. This one, you probably want this to be your first 8.0 battle rating tank. It's incredibly flexible, and it gets the job done. You know, the mouse is cool and all, and I feel like a lot of people would get the mouse just by nature of playing the Tiger 2 and things like that so much. But the mouse has limitations. It's a very niche tank. It can be overwhelmed fairly easily, unless played, you know, properly and with a platoon or with teammates around you. The Leopard 1 as a standalone tank is a good machine. So, on average, it'll perform, in my opinion, better. So, that's my thoughts on Leopard 1. It's really strong. Get it while it's hot, you know. But I want to thank you guys for watching this review. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something. I hope this helps you maybe kind of play this tank in a optimal play style, or I guess whatever you're trying to do. That was kind of weird. My monitor went to sleep. Oh well. So, yeah, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please put it down in the description. I'll be more than happy to read them and answer the questions. So, thanks for watching. I've been Corny Swiss. I'll see you next time.